The one I love. I finally saw it. It had been suggested to me forever, and I just passed over it. And I'm glad I watched it because I thought it was good. It's got Mark Duplass and Elizabeth Moss, who's so hot. God. It's about this couple that's in therapy, and the therapist sends them to this place, a retreat, to get away, right? There's a main house and a guest house at this retreat. It's kind of just like by an oceanside thing or whatever. And these weird things happen. There's going to be spoilers in this if you haven't seen it. So if you haven't seen it, maybe watch it and come back to this. Welcome back. When they get to the house, they realize that in the guest house there are doppelgangers of themselves. And at first they can only see it when the other person isn't there. So like Elizabeth Moss's character goes in there and she sees a different version of her husband, a younger, cooler version, like when they first met. And so she starts to fall in love with him, and the same thing happens kind of the other way around. But it's like this weird kind of supernatural sci-fi thing, kind of, where they're there and they can't leave unless the real couple's relationship falls apart. It's not quite clear. There were things that didn't necessarily add up, so to speak. I'm okay with it. I know there are some people who didn't seem to like that aspect. Like they couldn't, like the show Lost. People couldn't figure out what it was. I'm not entirely sure that the writers knew where they were going, but I still loved it. I thought it was great. Same thing with this. I just want to say that I think it's possible. All the interpretations that I read about online on Reddit about this possibility and that, they're all super interesting, and I think it's open to interpretation. I do think it's possible that this is just some sort of a metaphor or microcosm of therapy itself. Like they went to this retreat, they're there, they're having all these kinds of like internal mental battles with themselves and with each other and as a couple. And they're trying to figure out like, how can I get back to loving you? And how can we reignite this thing? It seems so almost, I don't want to say pointless, but the people who stay in relationships for longer than 10, 15 years, God bless you. I don't know how you do it because it seems like humans are not really meant to do it. I don't know how anybody does it. How do you keep it fresh? How do you, I don't know. But they're trying to figure that thing out that we all try to figure out at some point in our lives. Like, how are we going to make this work? And I just think it's possible that they're just kind of battling with this thing. And the one thing I want to mention is the bacon part, because I think that's kind of the key for me, is when the real husband is in the guest house with the doppelganger wife, the not real wife, right? It's like, you could think of it as like an AI robot or something, I don't know, which is probably coming, by the way. He offers to make him breakfast. She offers to make him breakfast and to cook bacon. And he goes, you hate it when I eat bacon. She's like, no, I don't care. Because she's the cool doppelganger, right? Still so hot. Fast forward to the end where he finally grabs who he thinks is his wife, I think, and they go home and they leave the guest house, leaving that whole sci-fi thing behind. And they get home and they're happy, and she's making him breakfast, and she says, do you want bacon? And he thinks about it, and it starts to leave this. It's an interesting plot thing happening because it makes you think, oh, he grabbed the doppelganger. But to me, I think this is just, she already knows the thing about the bacon. It didn't need to happen where the doppelganger is cooking him bacon, because first of all, they never even interacted, right? So how is the doppelganger going to know that he likes bacon unless the therapy is somehow involved? That's why I think this is we're just seeing inside the brains of this couple in the therapy, because the therapist is like, he knows all of this stuff. He's heard the bacon story. He knows about the bacon. It's a hot, delicious, sticky situation when the bacon comes up. And that's why they're already these things are already programmed into the doppelganger, I think. So when she brings it up at the end, maybe it's the doppelganger, but I think it could just be that it's the real wife. And she just thinks, all right, if we're going to make this work, I'll just let him fucking eat bacon and then he'll die early and I can go move on with my life. Why not just make him bacon? Who cares? You don't have to do it every day. Isn't there a compromise? A man can't have some pork? Is that what you're saying? Just let him have a little bit of pork. Can't you just meet him half pork way and just give him, pork him sometimes and not pork him other times? You know? So that's why I think it's just kind of a metaphor for therapy. I don't think it necessarily has to be the doppelganger that's there at the end. But one thing I do think is interesting is that if it is the doppelganger, and he thinks it's the doppelganger, he thinks about it, and he doesn't like run downstairs and go, oh God, I grabbed the wrong one. He just kind of goes, you know what, this is going to be easier for all of us. It's hard to tell because his acting, he does a really good job of acting, which will bring me to my second point in a second. You can't really tell if he's happy that he grabbed the doppelganger, if that were the case, or if he's thinking like, oh, maybe this is going to be easier. Maybe this retreat like got us to go through some things, and we kind of figured out these little things you have to get over. And not that I would know, but I do think it's the little things that you got to let go. What's that Tom Petty song? She's a woman in love. She understood the problems. She let the little things go. She's a woman in love. There you go. You got to let it go. Let the bacon go. That's what I say. And the other thing is, I thought it was such good acting. Obviously, Elizabeth Moss is a fucking phenomenal actor. I'm going to digress for a second. If you haven't seen the Max Richter video with her, it's like a music video, but she starts out on the phone in the restaurant and then ends the call. And the music is just so overpoweringly dramatic and reflective and somber and sad, and she just walks. Oh, it's so good. Check it out. It's on YouTube. Just check it out. Max Richter, Elizabeth Moss. It'll come up. But she's great. And the ability to play yourself and then a doppelganger of yourself, man, and Mark Duplass does a great job too. They both do great. And I think it's a really good movie, and I'm glad that I finally saw it. It had been suggested to me for years. Years. Has it ever happened to you where you're just seeing this like, no, stop suggesting this to me? Maybe the algorithm knows more than I do. I don't know, because I enjoyed it. I mean, is it an Oscar winner? No. I think it's from, 2014? Is that what I said? Yeah, 2014. I've got notes. Whatever. I don't care. I'm not a memory machine. I can't, there's too much stuff in here already. Stuff is just squeezing out of my eyeballs and my ears and other places. But yeah, I thought they did great. It's a good movie. It's not an Oscar winner, but it's a really interesting concept. Even if you have watched this and you haven't seen it and you feel like, I already know the plot, it's still good. I would still watch it. It really kind of hits home if you have ever been, and I assume that you have been, in a relationship where things are at the end and you don't know how to fix it and you want to kind of experience that feeling, or not that you'd want to re-experience that, but if you want to be in that moment and kind of look at it from an interesting, unique perspective where these people are on a retreat trying to make it work, they have fun, there's this doppelganger thing, but I think it's really just them kind of processing themselves, almost like you're shedding your old skin, just kind of getting rid of this old version of yourself so the two of you can move forward and you get through this. If you can just get through it, then you can last another 5 years and then you'll be back where you started, but at least you got through that. Whereas if you don't, it's over. I think probably if you don't, this is what I would take away from my life in relationships, is that if you don't figure out how to do it once, you're probably just going to be repeating it. Maybe that's what you want. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm just here to talk about movies. The one I love, 2014, I thought it was good. I'm going to give it 2 thumbs up. Check it out. I think it was on Netflix. And I think it's been on Netflix for 11 years. And it's probably been in your queue as well. You should watch it.